Hello, doctor. How are you? I'm not going to use your name and I'm not going to use the patient name because I might want to post this video because it really conveys and typifies my philosophy on retention. I haven't really given it a name, but I've kind of thrown around the term physiologic retention. So, this is the patient that you had recently expressed some concern about mobility of a tooth. Now, what we're looking at is 2015, how the patient started. And this was a later time point after a bonded wire had come off. Now, I'm not a big fan of the bonded wires, and we'll talk about them. And this was 2018. You could see some of the residue from the wire there. And you can see the teeth were obviously in a vastly improved position, but not ideal. And that was because there was probably either a little bit of relapse or because at the end of the treatment, we got the teeth only so far. The upper teeth, which are not relevant to the discussions or the concerns you've had, are obviously looking a lot better and holding up great. I made 30 passive aligners that the patient has been switching every 6 months. So she's got a lot left. Invisalign will not do that anymore. And the reason I made passive aligners is because aligners can move teeth. They can certainly hold them. And the aligners are kind of kinder on the teeth. Each one is not as durable as a stiffer material. So the stiffer does have that advantage, but if you can get 30, you can get a lot more time than one clear retainer. And my thoughts on the stiffer retainers and the concerns I have kind of play into the issue you have regarding this tooth. So basically, let me tell you how I think we should handle this for the patient. I think you were very thorough to notice that there was some slight mobility of number 25. And the reason for this mobility is that this tooth has a strong gravitational pullback. The patient has been very good with retainers, but will miss some nights. And within missing a retainer, and this is the key point, headline coming. I wish I could, if it was a visual, I would have the screen light up. That when you don't wear your retainer for a day or two, even after a day or two, there will be some very trace amount of movement, small movement. And then the retainer might feel a little bit tight. And that varies from case to case, from patient to patient, from tooth to tooth. So this tooth obviously wants to go back. And so the patient, the tooth today, I don't have the scan of the current teeth. We didn't take one yet, but I'm going to take one next week. I'll tell you why. But this tooth is in very similar to position to this, but it's not quite as good. And what's happening is the aligner has the shape of the teeth like this, but the actual tooth has been going back ever so slightly. And that introduces this back and forth that you noticed. That's not a bone issue. It's not bad for the bone, but it keeps the periodontal ligament in kind of a chronically swollen state. So the solution for this, and the patient was really understanding, not sort of a perfectionist by nature, which is refreshing, and this leads into my term physiologic retention, is I'm going to have her go 24 to 36 hours without wearing the retainer at all. This tooth in that short amount of time will settle a little bit. And then I'm going to make a stiffer new retainer that will fit passively on the teeth. And that should allow for less back and forth movement. I don't think that the cycle will continue with further movement. I think that the tooth maybe wants to settle back a little bit. Now, if she doesn't wear the retainer, it will get worse, but I think she'll be consistent with it. A great analogy I use for this is, think about a relative of yours that maybe would hypothetically lose 100 pounds and look like a completely new person. And then after that goal, they actually kept up that kind of new maintenance regimen. They weren't as vigilant because they were not losing the weight, but they wanted to maintain it. And then 5 years later, they stepped on the scale and you found out that they gained 10 pounds back over the 5 years, but kept 90 off. Wouldn't that be success? I think it would be. And so Anna's teeth maybe have, quote, gained a couple pounds back. And now I want to just hold it where it is. I think you know this, but getting the tooth more aligned does not sort of structurally lock it into place. So getting the tooth straighter is not the answer for stability. You have these two conflicting things. You have this desire for a perfect alignment, and then you have the maintenance of a really good result. And I think that's what this patient understands, and that's how I think we should move forward. The bonded wire, generally speaking, on all cases, sometimes it works great, but I can't tell you how many times I've had to take off or repair, whether it's a patient I never treated or my own patient. I can't tell you, how many times it's disgusting underneath there. Even in a mouth that's relatively clean, you take that wire off, there's like a line of chronic plaque sitting there. And so retainers work. They just, the bonded wire is not the panacea. It's not the answer, in my opinion. And guess what? If a patient is a human and doesn't wear their retainer and there's a little bit of shifting and they don't like it, well, they can get retreatment, because orthodontics is a treatment, not a cure. And by no means am I trying to enable people to not wear the retainers so I can get more business. I am trying to modify people's expectations that orthodontics is a treatment. It's not a cure. It can be essentially a cure if people take their medicine every night, which is what a retainer is in a sense. But sometimes you need to tweak it a little bit. It's not unlike a lot of other things in the body. Take care. I hope you're still there. I know I rambled on for a while, but I hope this was helpful.